Hey there, it's Coach Action Jackson. I'm here with one of my most amazing, incredible clients. His name is Jon. He has a very unique story, which is why I wanted to bring it to you, and he has a very unique perspective on life. So Jon, welcome, and why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Hi. Good morning, Jackson.
I'm Jon.
So yes, I'm Jon Kastrup. I'm deaf and communicate through sign language. I'm also an artist and just a generally very visual person.
Is my favorite quote.
One of my favorite quotes is, everything I see is my music. So that's part of what has made me an artist, the artist that I am. And this quote also applies to my fitness workouts. I like there to be a nice rhythm. That's what works for me. So I've lived in San Francisco for the last 25 years and doing great here, especially with Coach Jackson here making my life better. Could not have asked for more in a coach.
Jon, you're awesome. So your transformation has been pretty incredible. While we worked together, you first lost about 30 pounds to get down to your sort of six-pack physique that you wanted. And you did it while in your 50s, which is incredible. So we'll get into that more, but why don't we take it back to
55, I'll add. My ego had to put that in there.
Thank you for that, for the correction. But why don't we take it back to when you were at 225 before we started working together? Why don't you tell me kind of where you were at, why you wanted to make this change, and kind of just what was going on with you at that point?
Sure. Such a good question. I'll try to make my answer succinct, short and sweet. Basically, when I was younger, I used to love looking at magazines with bodybuilders on the beach, throwing sand on a skinny guy, you know, those types of pictures that we used to see in magazines. I don't even know what you would call that.
Yeah, they were in like comic books and stuff.
Exactly. So I would look at those images in magazines, and at 13 years old, I decided that I wanted to start doing exercises myself to try to be that guy. At that time, I lived with my grandmother. Then I moved with my mother and left the magazines with my grandmother. Later, when I asked my grandmother for them back, she said she had thrown them away. I was so upset. I reordered them, tried to get back into exercise, but then life happened. Work, marriage, etc. And then when I finally had time for myself and exercise, I got into Arnold Schwarzenegger's book, and I studied every single word of that book, and yet somehow it didn't work. I wasn't able to see any change in my body. I'm an artist, I'm creative, and I think I was changing up the exercises too much. It's hard to keep doing the same exercises for 12 weeks. Finally, life led me to you, and we set an exercise program that wasn't jumping all around. And this artist brain of mine was able to be more logical, and you helped me so much with that. I hope that answer was short and sweet after all.
Beautiful answer. So you bought some books, got educated, but it wasn't working. Why do you think that it wasn't working? Was it because you just still had questions? You didn't have accountability and support? Like, what do you think the reason was that you didn't get results, even though you had some information?
I think the reason is because I was so focused on the technical parts of the program that I didn't see the bigger picture and where food played into that. I didn't know about nutrition. I had a very superficial knowledge. I was so focused on the exercise part, and that alone was not enough. And so you helped me see the bigger picture and really understand deeply about not only food, but the psychology behind it, the science behind it, and exercise, and not just the workout itself, the big picture. And that was the big difference. Changing food habits requires a lot of discipline. And I'm so grateful for how you were there to keep me accountable. And the knowledge that I had from studying workout fitness programs did help, but you were the missing piece.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. So before we met, what was the reason that you wanted to have a six-pack? Because when we came to work together, you said, I want single-digit body fat and I want to see my abs. What was the reason that that was so important to you? You weren't in bad shape. You were active. You were working out before. So what was it that for you, why did you want to get to that next level?
I would say that, like you said, I was in fine shape, but I did have this image in my head of myself as someone who had reached the next level in terms of aesthetics. Like I said, everything I see is music, and when I looked at my body, I didn't like that music. I didn't like what I saw. I wanted to be better. So I had this image of what I could be, and that drove me to where I am right now. The vision I had of myself was quite elusive. I just couldn't, I was chasing it and never able to get it. I was never able to be satisfied. And I have to say though, I think it's important to have a vision of what you can be, even if it is elusive.
So where you were at, because you weren't as good as you thought you could be, did that impact your confidence? Or like, how did that make you feel knowing that, hey, I know I could be better, but I'm just not there?
I mean, just to be vulnerable and honest, I would cry at how because of what I looked like. I was depressed. I felt disillusioned, and it absolutely affected my mental health. It's because I knew that there was something that could be done. I just didn't know how. I wasn't able to do it on my own. I would go to the gym, and I had a personal trainer, and somehow going through those exercises and not getting the results I wanted, I started to feel hopeless. But then when I met you and I saw you working with your clients, and there was the workout app that you provided, I started to have tools to get to that how. And then, like I said, that missing piece, nutrition. And then I started having hope through meeting you.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable. I do appreciate it. It really hits me because obviously we spent a lot of time working together. I know you very well. I really respect you, and I appreciate your attitude, all the hard work, everything you've done. So it just really excites me and makes me feel good to see where you're at now in comparison. It's pretty incredible. So let's kind of fast forward and talk a little bit about where you're at now, the good part, the exciting part. So you lose the 30 pounds, you get down to 9% body fat. What did that feel like?
I mean, in a word, I was stunned. I said to myself that it just couldn't be right, that I even felt like I didn't deserve it. Growing up, I felt like, just like I wasn't really meant to be that way, or I didn't have the ability to be that way, even though I wanted to be. I felt like I would always max out before I could get there. But somehow I burst through that glass ceiling, and I did get there. I made it, and I was able to look in the mirror and see what I saw in the magazines, and I started to really own it and feel like, yes, I did it. Although there was still a part of me that felt like it couldn't be right. I mean, I still and chasing my own tail, still chasing an elusive vision, which keeps me going. I still feel like there's more room to grow. But I feel like I just can't live without this fitness lifestyle anymore. It really keeps me going.
Wow, that's incredible. It's interesting that you say you felt like you didn't deserve it at first, or that you didn't think it was possible. Can you dig into that a little bit more and kind of tell us just what, because I remember we talked about this a lot, especially at first when you first kind of broke through and got the results. We talked a lot about trying to sustain this now and maintain it and really shift your identity. So can you talk a little bit about like where you were then, kind of what your thought process was and why you didn't think you deserved it, or like why you didn't think it was possible for you?
I mean, I learned a lot from you about not only food, but the psychology behind it. I used to eat the wrong foods. I used to eat junk foods. I used to eat sweets. And all that affected my mood and my self-esteem and just how I felt about myself. But when you taught me about food and the psychology behind it, I started to be able to listen to my body. And when I saw sweets, I would know that it would taste good in the moment, but that it would have consequences that I didn't want. Just like smoking. I mean, I'm sorry, not like smoking. Smoking, you look at it and it looks bad from the outset. But with food, I mean, I have to say though, I've been good with nutrition, but it's been really a difficult journey. Like quitting smoking. Actually, I would say even harder. And I still do smoke cigarettes once in a great while, which sounds like a contradiction, but like I said, I'm still on my journey.
When you did make that transformation and you got there, like how do you think that you were able to make the shift from going to I don't deserve this, it's not possible, to kind of where you're at now, where you feel more comfortable with this new person that you've become and you feel good owning and stepping into it? I mean, people at the gym that you work out at, I mean, you could now go and you show up in a tank top, and that was something that you never used to do before, and people recognize it and people notice and people are like, whoa, he looks great, like, and you look fantastic. Can you talk about how you were able to make that shift and get to owning this now, this new person, and making that identity shift? Because I think it's important.
I had to be very honest with myself. And you're right, I couldn't go in with a tank top before. It was long sleeves all the way. And I really had love handles that I didn't want to show. I felt it was inappropriate to show at the gym. It was a self-respect kind of thing. And I would say the way I was able to own my new body and shift my brain to accept this new identity was being in touch with my vision for myself. I had this vision of myself, like I said, and I slowly changed what I thought of myself, and it got closer and closer to that goal I had. And as my body started to change and my mind was able to shift to accept that more, it was like a good sculptor. It was like I was able to see the changes and accept my body more and start wearing that tank top and be more confident.
That's awesome. So tell me, how has your life changed for the better, going from where you were before, where you were lacking confidence, where you felt depressed, where in your own words you said sometimes you would cry about being in this position because you were so frustrated because you weren't making results, to now? Like, how is your life better, different? Like, tell me about it.
Yeah, I'm definitely more optimistic now in my outlook. I would say that when I first met you, the cup was empty before and full now.
And has that impacted your relationships, how you carry yourself, how other people see you?
I would say that, yes, they're all better quality. I would say that things were more superficial before. And I think that quality is more important than quantity. The number of relationships you have, friends you have, honestly, I think less is more. I think relationships with strong foundations and that are deeper are more important than many superficial friendships. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No, that's great. That's great. Tell me, what's the best part about being able to walk around in a tank top at single digit body fat and be in the kind of shape you're at with the kind of energy levels that you have? Like, what's the best part about all of this if you had to sum it up into one thing?
Ooh. Oh, I'm honestly afraid to say it, but what I like the best about myself now is, like, for example, when I got up this morning, I was just grateful to greet a new day. I was able to do 25 push-ups right away, able to do my pull-ups. I could drop down and do my ab workout and just feel great. And another example is before bed, I can do the same thing. It just feels the best.
Is that good? I don't know.
Is that good? I don't know. I think it's the best way for me to be.
Absolutely. So during this journey, you mentioned a couple times that I was able to give you tools, and the tools really helped you to see a path to be able to achieve your dream physique. So why don't you talk a little bit about the process of us working together, especially given what most people would think of as a massive barrier in communication. So how did you find the process of working together, and how was that maybe unique given your given our inability to directly speak to each other?
Before meeting you, like I said, I was reading those fitness textbooks, and I saw all sorts of different tools, and I didn't know which ones to use at what times. It was very confusing. But with you, you clarified all that and laid it out in a way that I could see the steps. And then you told me about MRT. Can you tell me what that acronym stands for again?
Metabolic resistance training.
Right. Exactly. And so that was a tool that you gave me in a very methodical way, something I could follow in a methodical way. And then hypertrophy for weight training, you made that very clear and methodical and gave it to me in a way that I could follow. And then the workout program was just absolutely wonderful. Total body workouts where I felt like my back was straighter and taller. I felt stretched and just like a good sculptor knows how to use the right tools at the right time to be able to coax an image out of marble, and doesn't use the wrong tools. They know to use certain tools at the beginning to really shape the marble, and then more finer ones for the finishing touches. And you did that with me. Of course, there's more room to go, but so that's how you help me with the tools. Does that answer your question for tools before I go on to communication?
Yes, totally.
Great. So in terms of communication, before I met you, I knew you had valuable resources and information that I wanted, that I was starving for, actually. And I also knew that there was a communication barrier. And yes, that was difficult at first, but I just wanted it to work between us. I wanted the communication to happen so that I could get those valuable tools and resources. I just had this drive to get to this vision I had of my possible self, and wanted to work through those communication barriers. And there is still a bit of a communication barrier, but this vision I had just made it so that we work through that, and I think it's working.
So many people who have every single advantage in the book, they go out there and they struggle and they can't do it, and they think, oh, it's just not for me, it's impossible, whatever. And here you are with something that a lot of people would call a disability. And yet you're living, you're thriving. And I mean, honestly, like in my opinion, you have a better perspective on life than most of my clients who have all the ability and all their senses completely. So why don't you tell me a little bit about like how that unique perspective comes? And do you see the fact that you're deaf is more of a strength actually than a disability? Because I think I see it as your like strength. It's what's so strong about you.
It's been a hard journey for me. I did a lot of meditation, and I told myself that the only way to make myself stronger was to really embrace my vulnerabilities. So yes, I'm deaf. Yes, I had this vision of myself. Yeah, you could say deafness has become my strength. I think hearing people have this privilege, but they also are distracted by all that they hear. And, you know, they might get confused and overwhelmed by all the information they have, whereas I'm able to focus because of my deafness in some ways. My access to information through books, etc. Maybe it wasn't enough, but it gave me a great foundation. And then you helped guide me through the rest of it. And that's been my workaround for my deafness or disability or whatever you want to call it.
Like I said, I think it's really your superpower. And I think it's what's given you such a very unique perspective. And I think it's why people love to be around you so much. You just really radiate a certain joy and zest for life that's really intoxicating. And I just feel really lucky to have worked with you for so long and to have gotten to know you so much. So really, thank you so much.
Likewise, really. Thank you for being so patient and working with me through all that, because I know I'm extremely inquisitive. I know I touch a nerve sometimes and I don't care because I'm paying to get this information. I really don't care if you like me or not, because I really just want to be who I am. And just, yeah, I think it's important if I'm myself, then people will respect me. And yeah, I think if people can feel that I'm open to being vulnerable, then they can also feel the strength that comes from that. I guess that's a bit of a deep answer.
It is, and I don't want to take too much of your time, but I just want to ask maybe one or two more questions just to build on that point that you said. So many people are afraid of being judged by others, and they're afraid to really be who they are, and they're afraid to maybe ask questions or to really take action and follow through with something. But you said, I need to be who I am and be true to myself. Like, why do you think that you're able to do that? Or like, what's the mindset of being able to do that versus somebody who's really afraid of being judged by others, or maybe who, will not be themselves, ask questions, take action?
Yeah, good question. I think it has something to do with privilege. People who can hear, they have that fear, but they also have so many opportunities. Like the world is their oyster. They have access to what they need. The world is built for them, and they can stay in their comfort zone. I don't have the same access. I don't have that same privilege. And so I have to find a way to survive. And I had to think about how to survive. I had to think for myself. And I had to think how to even start, how to begin. And for me, it started with drawing and painting, interior design, but it wasn't really doing it for me. I even went into interior renovations, And that didn't do it for me either. Then I got into fitness, and somehow that was the missing piece. Somehow it felt like I had the whole package. I finally developed myself as a full man.
You're definitely a full and complete man, 100%. So if there's somebody out there that's watching this video and they want to work with me, but they're like, well, Jon can do it, he's amazing, but I can't. What would you say to that person who's sitting on the fence right now about working with me?
Yeah. My advice for that person would be that it's important to really love yourself first. That is the absolute first step. And once you do that, you can embrace your own imperfections and really go from there. And if people judge you, it doesn't really matter, because we have to start somewhere. We all start with imperfections. And to give you an example, when I first started going to the gym, I felt terrible about myself. And someone actually made fun of me because I didn't know the right form for push-ups. And I said, you know what? I have to start somewhere. I don't care. I'll prove you wrong later. And it worked. Oh, and I worked on it. And I would say to that person to just keep working. And don't work on getting approval for others. Just work on your own progress. And whether you're doing things right or wrong, just keep going and you'll find it. And keep your originality as well. Be yourself. If you don't, that means you'll just be average. You'll be the same as everyone else. And you may have to shed a few tears at the beginning of your journey. Sometimes that's what it takes to get what you want. If you're brave enough to cry and really put it all out there and face the worst thing, then you can move through that and get your dream.
That's awesome advice. And you are definitely uniquely yourself, which is, again, one of your gifts. Any last words for anybody out there who might be thinking about working with me?
Oh, yes. If any of you out there are watching this and you want abs, you want the aesthetics, JB is perfect for you. But I just also want to say, please don't use JB just for friendly chats, etc. It's not fair for all the other people in the world who deserve his help more than you do, if that's what you're looking for.
You don't have time.
That would mean you don't have the self-respect to really do what you want to do. I'm sorry being very bold here. I really care about people in this country. I think a lot of us don't eat right. We have a lot of work to do to make this world better and brighter, and JB can help with that.
Jon, thank you so much for doing this interview. Like I said, I do appreciate you as a client, as a friend, and you've definitely made me a better coach and more importantly, really a better person, because it's just been such a privilege and an honor to work with you for so long. Thank you, for being yourself, for, again, just being such a light in the world. I do so appreciate you. Thank you.
Wow, well, thank you, Jackson. Thank you as well. So nice to talk to you.